Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, John Travolta, JMals24, Unamento, M, Iron26, Endless, Goldie McKinnon, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fiber Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show. How's it going?
Hey, I was just talking with one of my moderators yesterday, a bee with a buzz.
Okay.
And we're just kind of, not just yesterday, but other days, we were talking about, Discord terms of service and stuff like that, and what is allowed and what is not allowed. And I was thinking of Skyping you the Discord terms of service and kind of learning like what you know about this stuff, because you're very familiar with the YouTube terms of service.
Okay.
And you seem to be pretty good at knowing what can slip by and what cannot slip by, and
Yeah,
I just kind of want to.
I have no idea with the Discord server though. I literally have no idea what the rules are. I've never even looked at them ever. Well, I might have without really contemplating it, but I have literally, as far as I'm aware, I've never studied them.
Right. Well, I was just thinking if you could take like a glance at them, because you're so familiar with the YouTube ones, right? And I want to know what you learned from like the YouTube ones and how they differ, and basically like how much I can let go on the server and not get dinged for it, and so on and so forth, right? Does that make sense?
Well,
I mean, because you're on
I'm
the server
no
too.
YouTube terms of service expert. I've just read the terms of service. That's it. So occasionally they'll send me an email and say we've changed it, and then they'll tell you where to go and look at what the change is, or they'll literally give it you in the email or a link to it in the email. Then you just go and read it, and see what the new policy is. But they're reasonably good, I would say, YouTube, at keeping you up to date when there are policy changes. So as long as you're familiar and you actually read the emails that they send, which I do, that's about it. But that doesn't mean I'm some YouTube terms of service expert. I hope I haven't given that impression.
Oh, you did to me.
Well, I'm not. If I've given that impression, I'm sorry. I'm not a YouTube terms of service expert. I've just read them. That's it. So,
I'll give you an example. You know how like you'll say something about somebody and you'll say it's like, oh, it's like a metaphor, or it's not actually, I mean it, and stuff like that. Stuff like that is what it kind of gave me the impression. You know what I mean?
What yesterday you mean when the woman was talking
Oh,
about...
I wasn't around for that.
Oh, okay.
But I'm talking about other times in the past. It's like teabagging, right? And metaphorically or whatever, teabagging you, like not for real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Remember I used that a long time ago? And stuff like that gave me the impression that you're well versed in this area, so to say, right?
I don't know what to say, really. On the one hand, I could easily sell myself as being an expert. I could talk about growing up with computers, and my dad being a programmer, and my parents owning a shop that distributed networks and computing and developed software and programs for education and all that sort of stuff. And, while I was living with them growing up, I was very, very heavily involved with all things computing. But, does that mean I'm a computer expert? No, far from it. But I could easily blag that I was. And sometimes when things come up that I do know about because I've read them in the terms of service, it's normally with Darwin. And he's like saying, oh, it doesn't matter if I say this or don't. It's like, yeah, but it does matter if it's against the terms of service, then, you've got a chance of getting in trouble over it. why take that risk?
Yeah. Yeah. And anyways, yeah, because it seems like some people say like, oh, well, why should we do this and why should we do that? And it's like they still don't get, you know what I mean? Like why take the risk and so on and so forth. Anyways, I'll just DM you like the 2 links, and because we should all get familiar with it, right? You're on Discord too, right?
Sure, I should know them. I mean, I'm privileged enough to get to use this server that I put zero effort in and just take from. So yeah, I'll definitely do that.
All right, and on your own time, right? I'm not like cracking the whip or anything like that. Like I
No, I get it.
respect,
You're not
I
saying there's
respect
some
what you do,
urgent
and I
issue that
respect.
needs addressing now, so I need to look at the urgency. You're just saying, look, it'd be good if you familiarise yourself with them. I get it. Yeah, I will.
All right, thank you, Nathan. And I'll just Skype them to you, and I'll fetch the links now.
Cool. Yeah, brilliant. I shall have a look.
Oh,
I
are you
edited
recording?
always. I edited together a Christmas special, so to speak. So, just by chance.
Hello, guys. Good afternoon.
Hey,
To you all.
how you doing?
Hello, good morning.
So yeah, that's members only currently, but I'll release it on Christmas Day. So obviously the culmination of talking with Anthony about I can't remember who it was now. I think it was Bob Nodell, where he was trying to convince us that he's a J-trig. And then you've got Bev Try Thinking and Jared and various other flat earthers that put various rhetorics across. We've addressed them. And then that, like I say, culminates in this literal paid NASA shill talking about arguments that they put out into the realm and how she would be overcoming them, but with us saying, "Well, we don't make those arguments," and who was it? Brian saying, "Yeah, but there are people out there that do make those arguments." And as I'm editing the video, I'm like, "Yeah, I've got all the thumbnails, like the cutouts of all these people to hand close by, because I've just made videos on all of them." And it's the stuff that she's attacking as straw men. It makes me smile because it's like, wow, hasn't this all kind of come together nicely? You can't prove Bob Nodell's a paid J-trig, but this woman is a paid NASA shill. It's a fact. Yeah?
Yeah.
We don't claim that there's
Yeah, I
ice
remember you
walls,
talking about that.
but she's attacking ice walls, and there's Dave Weiss, who's, in cahoots with people calling us scammers, claiming ice walls and suns that rotate around and stuff. And she's attacking that. It's all culminated in this one Christmas special video. So I was quite pleased with it. I spent all day editing it.
Oh, so you got it from like the old clips with the new clips from the new show, what you just talked. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, but the majority of it was because of yesterday's show, talking about, literally a paid NASA shill. And I was all the standards that I asked Anthony to fulfill. Well, is Bob punting some other government-based rhetoric in a different circumstance? Well, in this instance, it's obvious that she's a paid NASA shill. She's disclaimed it, not that you will brush over that. But she's also punting certain other government narratives, right? Like exactly as I asked Anthony to standardise in what he's proving when he provides no evidence. You have to excuse my blocked nose. I'm going to sound very bunged up all this show. But anyway, there it all is, and she's giving it us. It's like there on a plate, and there's no question about it. She's saying, yeah, I'm paid from NASA. So, there we go. It's just a good video to end the year on.
Yeah.
This doing a sneak attack start on me.
Okay. Got your car working?
Yeah, until it's last leg. I put more oil in it. I decided I'm just going to keep driving till it falls off.
Shouldn't you just try and sell it immediately? It's an unsuspecting sucker for a low price.
How can I do, Nathan? I couldn't do that.
Yeah, you could. You just put it on the market and just list the faults with it. Just be honest about how crap it is and sell it while it's still working. So someone goes, oh, I bet I could fix this. So long as it's still running and driving, be honest, list the faults. Sell it.
I see what you're saying. Tell them it's a piece of crap.
In a nicest possible positive spin kind of way. But yeah, you disclaim the faults. You list it for what you think is a reasonable price. But at this point in time, it's a bit like always, my projector has started to flicker, which means the bulb's about to go. So it's on its second bulb change. I've got a couple of choices. I can run it into the ground, at which point the bulb will probably explode in the projector, writing off the projector. That's typically the way it goes. Or I can put it on eBay tomorrow as a working projector, right? That's what I could do. Now, like with most people with their car, they use it. So they're in a quandary because they're like, what can I do? I use the car, and if I keep using the car, it's worthless after 3 weeks when it completely goes bang, or the head gasket goes, or it's got sludge in the whatever. You know, that's what you can do. But at this point, for you, if the most sensible thing you can possibly do is stick it on the market. Someone will want a running and driving cheap Nissan. They will want that. So long as it's running and driving. If you present it to them broken, it's scrap value that you'll get for it. Whereas you might get $3 or $4 grand for it if it's running and driving. As long as the going rate for them's $5 grand and you've got one that's a bit bust up.
I see what you're saying. While it's driving, put it up for sale. Fill it up with oil, put it up for sale, and just sell it.
Yeah, all that people ask.
The
first question I ask whenever I've bought a car, is it running and driving? Can I stick the key in it and take it around the block? And if they go, oh yeah, no worries, that's a good sign. If the next answer from you, Neil, if you put it on the market and they go, is it running and driving? And you go, well, I can start the engine, it makes a horrible noise, but unfortunately the gearbox has exploded and no, you can't take it around the block, you'll have to tow it away. They'll be like, you can pay me to do that. Yes.
Yeah, I'll get that going today. I'll put it up for sale today, see what happens. The whole thing is, Nathan, the problem is it's not just that. The freaking door doesn't close. My left door, the only thing that's keeping it closed is the wind from me driving. That's it.
Like I say, if it were me, I would treat it. If it's bad, but is running and driving, I would park it, turn it over once a day, and treat it as though it went bang yesterday. That would be my attitude. Literally, park it and go, it went bang. Just think of it as it went bang. It hasn't. Therefore, it's still got value. You could still sell it before it goes bang. Right? That would be what I would do. And then if the kids are like, but I must get to this place. Oh well, just think of the $3 grand you'll lose if you take them and it goes bang on the way.
Yeah, I think when I registered it here in Alabama, I think they gave the worth for it $500. That's what it says on the title. Value $500. I don't know.
Whatever. Look it up. Just look at whatever Blue Book value is. Lob off whatever you think it's not worth. Look up other similar cars in the area that are up for sale of a similar spec and model. That's it. And then work out what you think is a reasonable price. Sell it as soon as humanly possible.
That's a copy.
And then buy a Toyota.
Should have bought a Toyota the first time. They're just, you know what it is with Toyotas? They're never available for what I have to purchase. I tried to get a Toyota when I first got here. They just, banks won't give me a loan.
Really weird. It doesn't work like that here. A Toyota here holds no higher or lower value because the standards of cars that we have here are just higher. So typically, I was quite shocked because it's obvious when you think about it. Obviously, the cars are made where you are. So it's dependent on the quality of the workmanship of the people there. Whereas, you know, a Passat, I don't know if Passat's this comparison, but just for the sake of argument, that's made there is not the same quality as a Passat that's made here. It's just different in quality terms. Bits will fall off the American one quicker than they will off the European one. So the standard's just higher. So therefore, when you go and compare a Volkswagen with a Toyota here, it's not necessarily the case that you're going, oh, well, I'm going to pay considerably over the odds for the Toyota versus the VW. It just doesn't work like that. You just look at each car and go, well, you know, what's the condition? How old is it? What's it worth? But based on the individual car. But like I say, I can't think of an instance where, other than typical examples, your Merc, your Beamer or your Lexus, where they just hold a premium because they're slightly premium. But even then, when they get to a certain age, they don't. Quite the opposite, in fact. You know, an old Beamer is worth considerably less because people don't want to get into the hassle and expense of an old Beamer. So they're worth even less, you know. So hence me getting that Lexus for about 850 quid. The fact that it's a Toyota product in America would mean it still held a high value because it ran, it drove, it was a good car, and, you know, I could have just done nothing to it. But here it's like, well, has it done over 100,000 miles? Has it got slightly tatty paintwork? Yeah, I'll give you 500 quid for it, was what I said to him. And he was like, no way, it's on for 1,200, how dare you? Or 1,700 or whatever price he got it up for. But, you know, at the end of it, 850 quid, I felt that was reasonable for an old car. But in the States, that car the car I drive would demand $5,000, which I think is bonkers. But that's just because it's a Toyota product. And for some reason, having a car specifically imported from Japan, and my car's imported from Japan, no one gives a crap about that here. But in the States, you're like, oh, it's actually a Japanese car. Oh, I'll pay more for it then. Like, your old crappy Corolla demands a premium because it's Japanese.
Because the value over here, if something's coming from Japan, you're paying top dollar for it because you know it's going to last forever. Oh, wow, look at this. Another light just went on. Now my car is officially a Christmas tree. Now the cruise control lights flickering.
Yeah, you need to get this. You need to get it off the road ASAP.
That's how I make money right now, doing DoorDash. So if I take it off the road, I'm in a jam. That's all it is.
Fair enough, I understand. But while you're using it, get it on the market. Get it on eBay today. Because it's good money after bad if you make a few $100 doing DoorDash with it and then lose $3,000 because it goes bang, or there's too many electrical faults, or you can't get it started, or something else needs spending money on it to get it running and driving to sell it. Then it's good money after bad, isn't it? Just think that you might get an extra $1,000 out of the car and then offset that with a week's worth of auctioning, with a week's less door dashing. If that's less than $1,000, park it today.
I see what you're saying. I could have gotten a car the other day. We went to like a used car dealer, and they needed more. They needed more recent pay stubs. So I don't know. I said, what's wrong with these 1993 pay stubs? They're not good enough.
I didn't catch that, sorry.
I said, but I was in a car dealer. They said they needed more recent pay stubs. So I said, what's wrong with these 1993 ones? No good?
Yeah, just start the search. Start looking for your magical Toyota, whatever that may be. One advantage you've got from having that Nissan is it's a truck. So it'll sell quickly and easily if it runs and drives.
What's with this such an early start today? I was shocked to see the link there. And I'm usually waiting for the link.
It's because we're going to the Play Village, so I'll round out a little bit earlier, but I didn't want to necessarily have a shortened show, just because, you know, we're supposed to be at the Play Village for 3:30, and then I'm going out for a curry with the computer guy about 5:30. So in other words, I've got a lot on this afternoon. So I thought if I start early, with all the kids in the background screaming, you can probably hear them. At least there's a reasonably lengthy show.
So when you guys say curry, you're talking India curry, right?
Yeah.
Okay, it's slightly different here because our curry here is either Trinidadian or Jamaican or Guyanese, like my wife. Now, if you want Indian curry, then you have to go to a specific Indian restaurant to get the chicken korma and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's some spicy stuff there. actually having chicken curry for Christmas. That's what I heard.
What is this, QE show?
Well, how's your computer running?
Is that right? My daughter's iPad broke. The iPad I had before the one I use now, I gave to her and she dropped it. So I had to take it into him to hopefully get it fixed. Other than that, computer's fine. Seems to be alright. Hasn't crashed for a considerable period of time.
Computers? What is this, Nathan's show?
Yeah! But I haven't talked about it. I haven't been asked just because we mentioned food. I don't mind talking about it.
Want to see something hilarious? Watch, Nathan. I'm going to shut my door now. Oh, look at that. You want to stay close to me?
Very good.
To bring it on computers again briefly, I talked with Bees a buzz, and I decided on just getting a whole totally new rig and just building it from ground up. And he said he's going to help me, so I'm excited about that. Just going to wait for the Christmas sales to happen after Christmas, so to say. And
You know,
yeah,
what you gonna? Do you know what the spec is? Do you know what you're gonna buy?
no, I'm just. He said, yeah, we should just start with like the best CPU you want to get, and then go from there. So I'm like, yeah, sounds like a plan.
Really complicated at the moment. Because the best
What's
CPU,
that?
it's complicated at the moment in terms of what you buy and how much it will cost you. Because
Well,
the most recent CPUs come on horrendously expensive motherboards. Whereas the two previous generations, you can still get the top of the range from the two previous generations. The one that is literally 2 generations old was hated, like a despised range of awful silicon. Total nonsense, it's just another CPU. But that you can buy on a very, very cheap motherboard with DDR4 RAM, which is very, very, very cheap and very, very, very good. So best isn't necessarily best, because best at the moment is horrendously expensive because it's just DDR5, it's on a really expensive motherboard, plus the expensive chip. So there you go.
I agree. I should have worded it as in like how high do I want to go with the CPU and how much do I want to pay, and then once you know what I mean, I get that locked down, then we work around the CPU. But I
Yeah.
generally think I want something like a 7-core this time. This time I only got like a 4-core, like an i5 is all I got. So I notice there's a bottleneck for some stuff. So
The generational thing is just how crap is the silicon. They're all the same. An i5, i7, and i9 are all the same chip in the last 2 current generations, 12th and 13th. They're all the same. So they make a batch of chips, and then they test them. And what do you know? 2 of the cores don't work. All right, okay, well, that'll get binned as a i5. Well, all of the cores work, but they don't actually clock that high. Oh, that'll be an i7 then. All of the cores work, all of them clock high, but the graphics bit doesn't work. Oh, well, that's a i9 K-SKU. Not K-SKU. I forgot what they call a non-graphics chip, but they give it a different number because that bit don't work. And if it's a fully working, everything clocking as it should, and capable of going a bit faster than the standard spec, then it gets a K-SKU. So they've got all these different numbers, but all of them are identical. There's no difference. From the £320 budget one, 6-core, I think it's now 8-core actually, all the way up to the £1,000 super, super fast S-SKU. They're all the same chip, every single one of them. There's no difference between any of them. So when people are like, oh, well, there might be a bottleneck with an i5 or an it's like, well, not necessarily. It's just, which bits do you want broken in the chip? If you want all of it working, you buy an i9. If you don't mind about little bits of it being broken, then buy an i5. That's how it basically works. If it were me, I would buy a 10th gen. Everyone hates them for some reason. You get 8 cores, 16 threads, and the motherboards are cheap, and they work with DDR4. So I'd buy a 2 generations old top of the range chip. In other words, the best silicon there was 2 generations ago. I personally would always buy the best silicon, as opposed to just which range of silicon, 12th gen, 13th gen, 11th gen in this case. It's like, just buy the best silicon. Don't buy an i5. Buy good silicon.
Yeah, I gotcha. That's news to me. I didn't know about any of that stuff. So you say 10th generation, right?
Only because it's, I would say, very, very good value, because everyone hates it, and I don't know why everyone hates it, but they do. And you can still buy new i9 versions. I think it's called a 10900K. That would be what I would buy, because I think you can get them for about 400 quid, 350 bucks, 400 bucks. You might be able to get one cheap second hand for even less, like 260 bucks second hand. That would be what I'd buy. And then you can get a motherboard for 100 bucks, RAM for 100 bucks, a power supply for 100 bucks, and then whatever you've got left on a graphics card.
I want to get like a new graphics card too.
Well,
I wanna
always,
do,
but just partner it with whatever the best CPU you can get, and then
Right.
buy wise, so you don't have to spend a shitload on the motherboard, because who cares? And you don't have to spend a shitload on the RAM, because who cares? And you don't have to spend a shitload on the power supply, because who cares? You just buy whatever you can get for 100 bucks a pop. But like I say, if you buy by comparison, if you buy a current gen 13th gen i5, let's say you wanted to buy a K SKU for whatever reason, you bought an i5 13600K, right? The motherboard to run that chip is minimum 300 bucks for the motherboard, minimum. Just horrendous. And I think you can still use 13th gen with DDR4, but it's really hard to find a DDR4 only motherboard. So the 790, I think, motherboards are mostly DDR5. Well, DDR5 is horrendously expensive and new and has its issues. Whereas very well established and worked all the kinks out with DDR4, by 10th gen, and then you can just, every motherboard's DDR4. And any DDR4 that you buy will just go in it and work. Just buy the cheapest and fastest you can get for 100 bucks. There you go. That would be what I'd buy if I was buying a new rig. I gave the old rig away. So do you remember I gave I put the word out, who needs a PC, preferably in the UK? Well, you've got to be in the UK. And a YouTuber got in touch with me and said, I could use the mic, because I listed off that I've basically got a whole system, like keyboard, mouse, monitor, computer with a graphics card, everything, mic. And he's like, I just want the mic. I was like, you don't want the computer? He's like, no, I've got a computer, it works. So I was like, oh, fair enough. So it got refurbished, as I was planning to do anyway, and then I stuck it on eBay, and it got a moderate amount of interest. But then I went and watched the guy stream, and after about an hour of streaming, he's like, oh, my computer starts to slow down at this point, I can't load any more videos to watch. I'm like, man, if you're struggling to play a video after an hour of live streaming, you've got a god-awful computer, which I've now found out since was a 2015 Mac. And I'm like, yeah, that's going to struggle to play videos after an hour. It's going to be overheating. So I didn't give him much of a choice. I just contacted him by email after discussing it with Anthony on how I'd phrase it. Because, you don't want to... On the one hand, you want to be kind of imposing it, like, you're going to be taking this. You've got no choice in it. So he doesn't have an opportunity to say, no, I'm all right. I can look after myself, thank you. I don't need your help. I just didn't want to give him an option. I was like, you're having this PC. When can I send it to you? So, yeah, I shipped it out to him a couple of days ago. And then he had some family tragedy, which I won't go into, but he had bad news, which isn't great. So he's not actually had an opportunity to even look at it, which is a real sad shame, because he's got other stuff to sort out. But there we go. But good karma, that PC that is fully refurbished and clean install of Windows and all tested and working, and a nice PC. Not necessarily up to the specs that I could have just used it for. Had I have just used it, it isn't quite good enough. But certainly for a guy that's doing basic YouTube streaming and reacting to videos, to be able to just play a video, I'm 99.9% certain it'll be a much better experience than he's currently having, and therefore his audience will get a better experience too. So, that's good. Anyway, that's been done. So the old PC's found a new home, it does please me a lot, because you've got something that you've spent a lot of money on just because you've gone out of your way to buy good quality parts, and then 5-6 years down the line with a PC, no one cares that you spent twice as much on the power supply than a normal guy would, or twice as much on a really nice motherboard than a normal guy would, or twice as much on the fans than a normal guy would. When you come to sell it second hand, people just look down the list of spec and go, what's that worth? Right, it's worth 500 quid. Well, that's what I want. I want to pay 300 then. You know what I mean? So they don't care that it's 800 quid's worth of second hand parts there. So I was actually much more happy to not get any money out of it from eBay from some ungrateful sod who doesn't see the actual real value in it, and gift it to somebody who I then know is going to get good value out of the very high quality parts that I built that PC with, in spite of it now, because of a minor flaw, not having enough RAM to cope with what I do, which is all it really boiled down to. One of the memory channels went, and it meant that it just wasn't sufficient with only 12 gig of RAM to run my show. But 12 gig is more than adequate to run somebody who's just playing videos and responding to them, maybe as a Discord server in the background. It'll do that like a charm. So, ace. I'm glad that it's gone on to someone that can get value out of it, that's also doing, not necessarily flat earth stuff, but doing YouTube stuff. So, good karma.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, except for you saying the karma part, but but like, yeah, doing good, and is good, right?
Okay, I'll rephrase it. It's nice to pay it forward. I've got a new PC. Yes, I'm poor, and yes, I would definitely like to have had the money out of selling it on eBay. But that, as I've always said, I can't apply the time rich and money poor philosophy of life to just my YouTubing when there's other people around me that help me, like you guys, right? That I can pay it forward to with another YouTuber, and that is also as fulfilling and rewarding as, that same principle as well. I could be doing a different YouTube subject and potentially earning more money, or doing a different job altogether and earning more money, but I'd have less time. It's like, well, yeah, I could have flogged that thing on eBay, but then it wouldn't be really conducive with the whole ethos that I've got in life generally, when it's not necessarily just about the money anymore for me in life. Yeah, you've got to have it, and yeah, I could do with a bit more money, but that guy needs a new PC more than I need to cover a little overdraft at the end of the month, potentially, with a bit of an eBay sale. Do you know what I mean? One is far more valuable to him than the offset cash for me. Does that make sense?
I just don't get so offended with that karma thing. Just turn it around like I do. It's what you sow is what you reap. Let them say karma.
I
know what
don't.
it is?
Nathan can say it. Nathan can say whatever. I'm not Nathan's judge, but for me, I can't say I agree with it. So I felt like, I gotta make sure.
What
You know what I'm saying?
sow is what you reap. It's a fact.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the reason I use the words
right,
good karma, right? Because I watched the guy's stream, and then I went to my wife, because the thing was on sale on eBay, and I'm like, I want to get this sold, along with other things. And I went to my wife, and I went, I want to give away this PC. Now, obviously, I'm discussing with her. It's a financial thing. If I can't pay the mortgage next month, and I haven't discussed giving away an expensive item with her, she'd be pretty pissed. So I'm like, look, I want to give this PC away. She's like, right, to who? I was like, to this dude. She's like, okay, fine. It's good karma. That was her comment. And I was like, yeah, but, if I said exactly what I just said now, if we can't pay the mortgage next month, are you going to be pissed at me then? And she's like, well, what's your attitude? What do you want to do? And I was like, well, obviously I want to give it to him. That's why I'm asking you. She's like, ask a third party, ask someone else, see what they say. So I was like, I'll ask Anthony. So I thought, you just ask your mate, don't you, basically? So I'll ring my mate. So I phone Anthony. I'm like, Anthony, I want to give this PC away. What do you think? And he said the exact same thing. He says, oh, yeah, it's good karma. So that's why I've repeated it, because the two people I asked both said the same thing. It's good karma. Anthony and my wife.
Right. And I'll retract. What was I gonna say? How do I word this? I don't.
Hold on, while you get
I
your
understand
thoughts,
I'll say I understand what you're saying, Neil, and we'll put Nathan.
yeah, because
also.
if you do good things are gonna follow you. It's a fact.
That's right.
God God's goodness shines on the good and the bad.
Well, wait a second. We got to be careful. We're not trying to imply anything.
Listen,
As in,
the sun
'cause-
shines on the good and the bad and God's goodness. I mean, it's just a fact. I'm going to show you wicked that are blessed. It's just a
I think
system that we're in.
Nathan's asking for a reason. It's obviously not that because we can't prove karma. Nathan's not dumb, but of course, a good deed's a good deed. So it's however you feel.
What's that? You talking to me?
I was in the
just saying.
same position of giving a $900 PC away, but before I could even sell it or give it to someone, the cat pissed on it.
okay.
Off with that
So the
cat's head.
cat decided.
What's that, Neil?
I said, off with that cat's head.
Yeah, that was the sentiment at the moment.
All right. So,
Yo, we think we're gonna review a video or something like that. I just saw Neil deGrasse Tyson on Joe Rogan. They didn't talk about space though.
Righteous. 1 second. All I'm saying is good things happen to bad people and good things happen to good people. Is there some sort of universal thing going on here? And
Can't prove that, Neil. You can't
when
prove
you
that.
do good, good comes back to you. When you sow discord, discord comes back to you. Same thing. When you plant corn, tomatoes ain't gonna come up, buddy. Corn is.
yeah, I know what you're saying, Neil. God's will is to help and do good to everybody, but like ultimately, people can override that with their choices and what they sow. Correct?
I did ask for proof.
Yeah, we're talking about something else within a certain
Of course.
different context.
Listen, we were discussing this at dinner last night. My son was asking me if Absalom was justified in the things that he had done. Now, there is never any justification for murder. I'm sorry. But you know he was angry because David did not judge the brother for raping the sister. So a lot of stuff unfolded there, but he was never justified for what he did.
What are you guys talking about? Sorry, I got distracted. With something else. Maybe screaming kids.
I posted a few of the sorry, Matt. I think I've caught this bloody sore throat off you yesterday, Nathan. I posted a few of them bad moon shadows pictures out just to see for any feedback. Yeah, coming back with some stupid things, which I imagine they would, which was they're asking for proof of the height of the moon. I said, I'm using your fucking model, is what we're doing. The other one is, are you claiming the sun produces its own light? What else was it coming out with?
Want me to react to those? Because I will.
Yeah, I'll read you one of the things if you want. Did you? But it was strange because I put it on an Instagram thing and I got like a lot of it was garbage, but a lot of it was like got like 100 responses from like these, and I know they're like serious anti-flat earthers. I basically posted the picture of the moon and the Eratosthenes things, which was on the ball busters, and basically briefly pointed out that this is given as the same light as your supposed 93 million mile away sun. Anyway, one of the replies was, this is from a guy called Science versus Pseudoscience. Okay, I'll break this down for you. I told you in my first comment on your post, you debunked yourself. Now here is why. first you refuse to answer if the moon is its own light source or if it's a reflection of sunlight. But now that's incorrect because I didn't state any of that. I just stated that the light is coming from the moon somehow. If you say it's its own light source, then it would be a full moon every night, everywhere. Then you would be stuck with moon phases to explain. Now the sundial is an individual mechanism set at one point on Earth. If a sundial is, say, only 12 inches in diameter, then it only needs 12 inches of near parallel light to get the same reading at the sun. The pickle you have put yourself in is you have claimed that Eratosthenes' experiment can be done with the moon and it will produce the same results. Well, you have a huge problem. You can't produce it being done anywhere. Now you may ask why you can't. Well, the reason is, if you could, it can only happen during a full moon, which I'd already explained that. If the moon is waxing or waning, you would be screwed. You didn't think far enough ahead on this one. You took a picture and came up with an idea, and it failed you miserably.
So
That was it.
the typical approach from any anti-flat earther is to flip the burden onto you. You're addressing their claims about parallel light and big suns that are far away, and how that doesn't work when you use the moon dial on a full moon and get the same result when it's claimed in their model to be closer. That's debunking that as the positive claim. So when they turn around and go, so you've got to now prove that the moon produces its own light. I'm not claiming anything about the moon. I've debunked your assertion of a big sun that's far away with parallel light. It necessitated for your examples with shadows, including but not limited to sundials and moon dials. So therefore, we debunk your claim. So rather than addressing the rebuttal to their claim of a big distant sun producing parallel light, they start challenging you to explain moon phases, or challenging you to justify the moon producing its own light. Right? No, I'm not making any claims about the moon, not producing any evidence about a flat earth with the moon. I'm debunking your assertion that the sun produces parallel light because it's big and far away. That's your claim. Can't be the case because the moon does the same job with a full moon. So therefore, no, definitely not a justifiable heliocentric claim. We've debunked that one. Bye-bye. Oh no, I'm not going to be providing you any other positive assertions for you to debunk.
Next.
Next.
It was just strange though, because I thought I didn't go into it too. I thought I just wanted to see what sort of response, but you can see them all. Because they all know each other. It's probably the same person, half of them, but you can just see the jumping on it. I just thought I'd just cause a little bit of friction. I didn't say too much. I just left it there, leaving them to sweat over it and have a little think.
Well, that's good. It's good. I mean, base instinct for an anti-flat earther, or people in general in this instance, is going to be to flip the burden. Most of the heliocentric anti-flat earth rhetoric, i.e. their challenges against us being here at all as flat earthers, is to flip the burden and get us to justify a claim that they have. So when we proactively challenge a claim they have, they try and flip the burden.
Yeah. And then you are making a claim that Eratosthenes' experiment can be done with moonlight. If you can't show this has been done in reality, you have no argument to begin with. But
everybody.
We're not talking about that. We'll be talking about a small local light is given as the same production of a supposedly massive faraway light.
I have an update on this situation.
Situation?
Rob,
What situation?
The moon shadow situation.
Oh, okay. On topic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Rob, Rob, did.
Right, who's our Rob? Durham.
Yeah, Rob Durham. Yeah. And Rob Durham did modeled it all out in CAD, and I did the same afterwards then in GeoGebra. And this is going to be strange, but there is hardly any difference using a globe out and divergent light from the moon and parallel light from their heliocentric moon and parallel light from their heliocentric sun. The shadows show over a globe of 3959. The shadows show, and I mean this, hardly only a small fraction of a degree of difference. It's so small that in reality, you wouldn't be able to, like it would be, because of such a constant thing, the shadows would be changing because of the movement of both those celestial bodies and everything. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So I was incorrect when I said that they would have to be wildly different. They're actually wildly the same. But this is worse for heliocentrism because it means that they don't have any claim whatsoever, because they wouldn't be able to prove that the light is coming in from the sun parallel. I could claim just as easy that the moon is really big and far away, or both the moon and the sun is really big and far away, or the moon is really big and far away and the sun is small and close, and they won't be able to prove any different. They have nothing outside of the claim, so they have no way to prove it.
As long as,
you understand what I mean.
they're emitting their own light.
Sorry?
I mean, they have also the story that it's not emitting its own light.
That's debunked with specular reflections.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
I mean, it doesn't matter anyway, does it? I mean, the light is coming from that thing in the sky, and the issue, the I can't get my words out. It doesn't matter. The thing is, it's local, and its size, its locality, and its size. It's giving off light somehow, and it's copying another example of something totally different, and that's a problem. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, yeah. Well, the problem is that within their heliocentric lore, the whole point of the sun being very big was to give them parallel light to explain the shadows. This is their claim, to explain the shadows we see in reality over a globe surface, right? Because according to the story, if the sun was small and close, then that would prove the Earth to be a horizontal plane. But the moon and sun, in heliocentrism, when you model it out, and I was wrong about this, but when I stated that they should be wildly different, there's no difference whatsoever. So it means that their claim about this big sun and parallel light has absolutely no grounding whatsoever, because there's no difference between the moon and the sun within the model. If you model it out, it gives them the same exact shadows. Like the shadow angles are almost absolutely identical, so much so you won't be able to measure a difference in reality. So they have no, like, that is where their claim of parallel light came from, is the shadows. That's supposed to be the reason why we have the shadows on the globe. But this means that claim can't exist because there's no evidence for it. No evidence whatsoever that light is coming from the sun parallel. Because, as I said, I could just as easily say, no, all the light from the moon is parallel, and all the light from the sun is divergent, because it wouldn't make any difference. Because,
the point is,
if you understand what I mean.
The point is, we're sticking within their claim, though, aren't we? That's what we're doing with this. we're sticking with their claims of the 93 million mile away sun, which is thousands and thousands of times bigger than the Earth, and the more local luminary in the sky, which is 247, which is local and smaller than the Earth. So we're sticking with their claims. That's what Nathan was just saying. Like they try and twist it around. They jump in on, well, the light's coming from the sun anyway. So as if that's and where is the light coming from off the sun? And how did you measure the height of the sun, the moon? So, well, I've not. You told me how far away it was. You've told me how it differs in size from the Earth. I'm just using your rhetorics, and you've got a problem within them rhetorics.
Well, yeah, I actually remember when I brought out my video on it about a week or so before before the presentation happened on Ballbusters. One of the very first comments was from this guy Polster X, and he gave me calculations and said you wouldn't be able to tell the difference in reality, right? And he's a glober, and I said, well, you don't have a claim then, because
Well, he
his
doesn't live in
calculations
reality,
showed. Yeah, the calculations were based off basically he basically based the calculations based off of the light from the moon being divergent and the light from the sun being parallel. And he said the shadows would look exactly the same on a globe. And I said, well, you don't have any claim then. So the whole claim was based on the shadows not being able to be different. Not kind of their whole claim involves the shadows. It not being possible for them to be the same. That's where their basis for the claim comes from. That's where they get the claim the stars are really big and far away, and we get parallel light from them. And a tenth man made a good point that they need the parallel light to start for a lot of the celestial navigation to start being able to bring the light to the center of their globe at the same angle as to the surface. This kind of thing. But when it comes to the moon, you could literally do the same thing. It makes no difference. So even though it was wrong to state that they would have to be wildly different, they're unbelievably the same, which means that there is no heliocentric claim. Because when I said that to this man, this commenter on my channel, he had nothing. He couldn't come back with that, and a couple of others came at me with the same stuff. So the best they can say is, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Then you have no evidence for your claim. If you can't tell the difference, then you can't claim that they're parallel, because you have no evidence. The whole point is that you're supposed to have evidence to be able to tell the difference between whether they're parallel or divergent. It means you're just making stuff up. And that's what it actually means.
It's hard for me to believe that Eratosthenes did not take the moon into consider if he's real. I don't know if he's real, but whoever made the claim, the Eratosthenes claim, it's very hard for me to imagine they did not consider the moon at all while searching the sky and measuring it precisely.
Yeah, I would say that if he existed, that he'd have to have took the full moon into account. I mean, if he existed and he was as good as they said he was, then he'd have to have been not stupid, But it's very likely that if he existed, he could have said, well, I mean, if you just look at the shadows, then you could say that the light is coming in parallel and we're on a globe, or it's coming in divergent and we're on a horizontal plane. But I don't think for a moment. See, the whole thing about the shadows was a ruse, because it took the concentration away from his method, which was his method wasn't the type of light you were getting. His method was the angle created by the shadow and the use of an elevation angle between his point and the well in Cyan.
That destroys it all right there, elevation angle. He assumed the Earth was a globe first. Then he had to take the elevation angle of the shadow. So then he had to assume sunlight comes in parallel so that the ground could be curving to cause it. rather than the angle of incident from where the shadow is being cast, so zenith and so forth, the GPS. So everything was an assumption, but just the fact that he took an elevation angle destroys the whole claim right there.
What does parallax tell us about the sun and moon? Which one's closer with parallax?
What do you mean with parallax?
Well, with this, if they were on the same plane, or not on the same plane, obviously, but one's moving 50 minutes slower than the other. I mean, how could that work out?
What's your question? I still don't understand.
Well, I mean, Brian was putting the idea forward earlier that who knows, maybe the moon is the one that's really far away and the sun is close. But like, how would measuring that 50 minutes in between those movements, could that come into play to work for any kind of modeling?
Well, what my point being there was that you could say to a heliocentrist that within their model, you could make the moon as big and far away as the sun, and the sun as small and close as the moon, and they would still get the same shadows off of both. Like, that way the sun couldn't be lighting up their moon and giving them moon phases for a start.
Let me try, because you've explained it twice. Let me just try and paraphrase it slightly differently. Part of the justification for the explanation within a heliocentric model after measuring a flat Earth elevation angle is to say that the reason for the difference is the curved surface, at which point you have to have parallel light. Now, their explanation and justification for that is that, oh, well, it's got to be coming in parallel. The sun's really big and really far away. So we're only going to receive the, really slither of light from miles and miles and miles away when it actually reaches us. Therefore, all parallel. Yeah? Brian's saying, no, you necessitate parallel light and a faraway sun for your model. But in terms of a justification for it in this example, you can't use and we know that's the case with the sun, because you get no difference with the moon. It comes in exactly the same. The shadow's no different. You wouldn't be able to discern any difference between the two. Now, they require the sun to be giving them parallel light rays because they're bending the horizontal that they took the angle with, which necessitates the light to come in parallel. But they can't say, oh, well, that's why it's the sun. We use it because it's got parallel light. All right, well, isn't that the case with the moon? Oh, no, it's closer, but there'd be no difference. So you can't then justify a faraway sun with this example.
Yeah, so moon phases are out the window. Their two-way speed of light claim is out the window. Because all these things are based on a very big, faraway sun. All their distances to all these big, huge lights in the sky that they claim, they're all out the window because parallel light is the main basis for all those claims.
So basically, the globe is flat, and it was measured like that. The globe is flat, and the Greeks all knew that. They measured angles using sticks and shadows. The globe must be flat for horizontal shadows. Al-Biruni knew the globe was flat. He measured the height of a mountain like that. And when I was a sailor navigating the sea, the surface of the ocean appeared very flat to me. Triangulation on the surface of Earth, all achievable without one single use of a curve. No classic.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, And there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by Neil, Righteous Force, 10th Man, Brian's Logic, Adam, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Morning.
No.
Dancing in the moonlight.
Good morning. Good morning.
We've got a video to react to today. Been shooting the breeze in the pre-show.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, Prototad did a response video to. This needs a little summary, I guess. Divergent Droid and Prototad were going back and forth, and Prototad was saying things about celestial navigation, and Divergent finally said, either put up or shut up, and then contacted me. And I said, well, if he's challenging me, he's really challenging my research in celestial navigation books and what I've read and what I've shown. So he needs to debunk that. So he put out a video to address that. Let me go post it for you.
I'm not going to do that. No.
And,
No. Prototad can join the show. Right, there's a level that we have attained here.
okay.
And below that level, you can join us. Or if you feel that you're in the same pond but above us, if you choose to lord it over us from your higher, more subscribed channel, then fair enough, you can do a reaction to us. You know, you can take our shit like Simon Dunn does and do your reaction videos, fine. But as for us dealing with the peasants below us by reacting to their videos so they don't have to come in here, no, we'll be picking and choosing the ones as opposed to doing the reaction to some tosser that could just join and discuss it with us. No, I'm not going to be responding to his video. If we're going to be semi-proactive, because we're reactive in terms of how we're dealing with the videos, but we're proactively seeking them, well, then we're going to be seeking out much, much, much bigger fish. You know, that NASA shill yesterday, wah, perfect. Neil deGrasse Tyson, wah, perfect. Prof. Cox, excellent. That's the ones that we'll be doing. I'm not going to do reaction videos to Ruhif unless it's very much specifically, you know, on points that we want to be covering. Celestial navigation, no offense, is, you know, an old subject that we've now been covering for a considerable amount of time and is nuanced to the point where, you know, if we've got somebody slagging us off about it, we'll defend ourselves, but reacting to some scuzzball, Prototad can join.
Well,
All right. Well, let me at least summarize what he did. He strawmanned everything that I said. I had put up references from Harold Jacobi in the book Navigation, where he says you need a right angle and two lines, one at the horizon, one at the star. And he says, well, look, the rest of the book shows a globe, and he's a glober. Well, I've always said that. I have never said that the books I bought teach flat Earth. No, it's all globe related, but within those books, they have to use instruments for measurements. And that's where I brought up the sextant chapter 6 of Harold Jacobi's book. So he strawmans saying that I cherry pick everything when I've already admitted that every book I bought shows pictures of globes, dingleberries, you know, rotation, you know, they all talk about it because that's the reverse engineering they've done with the stars to show that you're doing it from a globe. But in reality, when you peek into the book and say, well, what is actually being done? Well, you need a sextant. Well, what's that? And I made only 2 claims. Everyone knows this. I keep saying it just because I knew I had from the beginning. Sextant is an angle measuring device, and they all agree with that. And an angle is 2 straight lines meeting at a common point called the vertex. And so now you got to show how that can work off of a curved surface. And since it can't, it's not being done that way. And that's what I pointed out. Then he went to that article from Yachting World where the guy says you need a right angle triangle. And then he went and found another story from a guy saying, well, I was wrong out of simplification, kind of like that one with tablet class where he had to go in there and change his right angle because they bothered him. So everyone's changing their story, but drawing right angle triangles and subtracting from 90. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen. So in summary, because I'm sick, I'll just keep it short. I'll let Brian talk if he wants. He strawmans everything. But then he puts something down that he says you have to measure it the way and show it the way you measured it. Well, that's what we want. We want you to show it the way you measured it, off of a curved surface. When you show me a sextant, come work with a curved baseline, then we can talk. That's all I gotta say.
Well, what I would say about it is that if you read what the guy from the yachting world, his correction on him using basically a box, right, which is two right angles, a right angle at his position and a right angle at the GP point of the celestial body. His correction for that was that even though two right angles do this thing, that's actually incorrect, and they don't. That's what he said. There's actually a curve between those 2 points. It was actually so pathetic. Now, I don't know if Ken says it is legit. I thought that Proto maybe had just made it up, this bit of an article from this guy, but supposedly this guy changed his story. It's it's so pathetic. They actually, like, in reality,
I don't know. I don't know if it's Brian.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's legit, but he said the guy did it, so let's take it on value. Then you read it, and I read it, and he's making more of a mistake.
Well,
I'm
sorry.
Okay, I just want to appeal to
measure it from.
Sorry to interrupt this discussion. Right, I just want to appeal to my chat. This back and forth is with a non-existent party that could very easily join, right? And I want the chat to just affirm what I've already said, if it's not the case, or maybe I'll give it as a choice, right?
Yeah, screw that guy.
No, screw that guy, right? When it comes to guys like that, they're obliged to join, as far as I'm concerned, because we could be, rather than responding to his comments and such, we could be dealing with someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson responding to a video by them, right? Now, personally, I like what we've done. At first, I was, fine, I'll do it if you think it'll be good, and the reaction from the audience was good. The numbers didn't necessarily increase, but I like doing it, and I think it's very, very valuable, because we're proactively reacting to claims against us and claims for the globe from prominent figures. And we're the best people to be doing that, as far as I'm concerned. We can take apart every little nuance of every little aspect of every little claim that comes from the heliocentric side, from the priesthood. Tyson, Cox, this NASA Shirley yesterday. We can do that. We're the best people to do that. Now, I believe that the reason these tossers exist, like Protothad, is just to keep us tied up doing stupid shit, responding to our responses on their responses to their claims. It's like that sort of subtle, nuanced argument about something we've been covering for a year. If that type of person wants us to be covering that, they better damn well get in and put their argument to us. You know, not expect us to disseminate their argument for them or play their argument for them from a video to respond to it and pause it. No, get in here, Protothad. If you want us to do your stuff, then you can get in and we'll discuss it with you. We'll listen to your claims, and then we'll hand you your own ass and have you tell us how we can do that with a flat plane and such, like when you've come before. But no, I'm not going to do those response videos, that sort of response. I'm not knocking what you've done, and I've even put up the messages back and forth between him and Divergent Droid, along with a couple of the diagrams as you were talking about them. But, you know, beyond that, I think the audience will agree with me that they'd prefer that we were ripping Tyson a new one. Maybe I'm wrong. So type 1 if you'd like to see us pulling apart the Ruhifs and the Protothads and the Rumpuses and the stuff that we've already dispensed with years ago. You know, if we should be going to their videos and reacting to them now that they've all buggered off having been defeated. Or, so that's type 1 if you'd like us to respond to the was going to say George Nettingen, but he's dead, right? Those types of people. Or would you prefer type 2, if you'd prefer us to see us covering the Neil deGrasse Tysons and the Brian Cox and the Michio Kakus and the mainstream heliocentrism?
Celebrities. Let's do celebrities.
The nobodies and the somebodies. Say it. The nobodies or the somebodies.
Type 1 for the nobodies, the anti-flat earthers, or type 1 for the 2 for the somebodies, the Tysons and the Coxes and the
Two.
I'm going for 2, but I still want to make mention of Fight the Flat Earth. This is my 3rd attempt now of trying to quote this during the show. Last time you literally dropped the second I was going to talk about that yesterday. But did you catch what he was saying, Nathan?
No.
In
I'm not subscribing.
Refracted Philosophy show.
No, I'm sorry.
He said you couldn't have. Sorry?
I was just saying, no, shut up.
Anyway. Right. So what he said during that show, he was on there with the Flat Earth guys on Refracted Philosophy, and he kept going and going and going. And he went full on crazy with it. He ended up saying you couldn't have a refracted horizon if the horizon wasn't geometric.
Well, let me use what he just said there to debunk all heliocentric claims of celestial navigation. Right? I'm happy you said that, Arwen, because this is the very first thing I said to this man. Yeah, it's so stupid. Listen to this, right? When a boat is at the harbour, at port, before they leave port, the navigator makes sure, if it's a boat that they've just come onto, that they measure, right, when water is calm at port, their height of their eye above the water below. That will be their dip correction, right? Their height of eye correction for the rest of that journey will always be based on that height, that distance between their eye and the water below the boat at port. That doesn't change. That is always going to be their height of eye and dip correction while they're out at sea. So if they're out at sea for whatever length of time and they're taking sextant measurements every day, right, maybe twice a day, their dip is always going to be that. So if you were on a 40-foot high boat, then your dip will always be 40 foot. Well, if your eye height, let's say, is an extra 5.5 feet, so it'd be 45 feet, right? So your dip or height of eye will always be 45 feet off the water below.
What about if you're wearing platforms?
Sorry?
What about if you're wearing platforms?
Well, you won't be wearing them on a boat.
I'd want to look cool.
Well, if that's what you want to do, see if you can walk around with them when the ground you're standing on is being thrown around the place. See how far you get. But if you're claiming to do the Earth as a globe and celestial navigation is done on a globe, and you're claiming that the horizon is refracted, that means every time you go and take your reading with the horizon, that from day to day the horizon is lower and higher and higher and lower, which means that when you take your 45-foot dip correction, right, you don't know whether that horizon you're looking at is in the same is higher or lower or higher than yesterday. So when you take that correction and you think you have a right angle, all your measurements will be all wildly out, and you'll never get to where you want to go. You'll be thousands of miles away, often the time, because you're using the horizon. The horizon is supposed to be a steady location for you to be able to do height of eye and dip correction. But if you're trying to claim, if you're a heliocentrist and you're trying to claim that you're using that the dip is to the horizon, no, your dip is already determined at port. But if you're claiming the horizon is a refracted position, that means today the horizon could be higher up, and tomorrow lower down, and the day after lower again, and then higher after the day after. Which means that when you take that 45 foot, right, as your dip, then what that'll mean is that you don't know whether you have a right angle triangle then. You don't know if you have a proper zenith, you don't know if you have a perpendicular. You presume you have. But how could you have if you're using an horizon that is refracted, which is standard 7/6 and greater than 7/6, or the horizon will be never in a constant position. It'll be going up and down like a yo-yo, as opposed to in reality it moves away from you and closer to you, away from you and closer to you. But it doesn't go up and down like a yo-yo. That doesn't happen. It doesn't. It's always at a constant 0 degrees elevation.
All true.
So that's
However, all
yeah.
redundant in our discussion, because we don't have to argue this. We don't have to tell them that. We don't have to give them that information. If the horizon's refracted, it's not geometric. That's the end of their argument.
Yeah,
No, but I
it
think
is.
Craig
But I
bypassed
just
the paradox, though.
Yeah,
I mean-
well, even more slick if you can get Brian to argue back about it. I'm not trying to demean any of what Brian said, because every word of it's true. And you need to know those things and have them disseminated to you to be able to make the statement like I do in a bullshit way. All right, refracted, not geometric then. By R value, by measurements of geometry for an Earth that's a sphere. It's all gone then. Nothing to measure in physical terms. Going to change with the weather.
Housekeeping. Let's do some housekeeping.
No, but Fight the Flat Earth's rebuttal to that is that, but no, it has to be geometric, because how else could it be refracted?
Well, we're going to do a different type of housekeeping today because there's Christmas
That
coming
makes
up.
sense.
So, Arwin will
Of course,
still,
it doesn't make sense.
Arwin will
It
still
doesn't
be
make
live
sense.
over Christmas, will you not, Arwin?
Sorry?
You're still going to be live over Christmas, correct?
This weekend, yes.
Yeah, so I'm just doing a different type of housekeeping. Someone said, let's do housekeeping. I said, well, yeah, but we're going to, I'm going to unwind a little bit for Christmas, and hopefully everyone's going to enjoy the festive season, wherever you may be. Some people don't celebrate Christmas, so obviously not relevant to you. But for me it is, and yeah, I'm looking forward to Santa coming. However, Arwin will still be live, so check him out. He had a good show today, and I want you to check that out. By all means, spam this in the chat while I'm plugging you, Arwin. But, some people haven't got family around them at Christmas. I got this idea from a car channel I watch called Mighty Car Mods, and on a yearly basis they put out a show called Turbos and Temples, and they're up to Turbos and Temples number 3 now. But they put it out on Christmas purely for people who might not have anything better to do on Christmas, to put it lightly. But Arwin's got something better than their expensive trip to the Far East to film stuff about Japanese cars, which is great. And don't get me wrong, I like their show. But Arwin's got an interactive show that you can participate on Christmas. So there might be people of my audience that are like, yeah, actually I don't have a wife with me over Christmas, or I don't have whatever, family around me for whatever reason. Or they might have their family around them and just not want to be around them for that particular moment. And there we go. In that case, you can just go and join Arwin's show. So check out the Flat Earth Early Bird, because he's still going to be broadcasting over Christmas. He doesn't have a day off ever, basically, unless he's too sick to do the show or he's got a technical issue. So he basically streams every day. So check him out if you want some interaction on Christmas Day. You'll find it over at Arwin's. So that was the first
Correct.
plug.
I am doing live streaming on Saturday and Sunday, but I might skip on Monday. I'm not sure yet, because I'm having Christmas dinner then, and I might be out earlier. So,
Indeed.
but yeah, I will be streaming during the first Christmas day.
Also, there's a summary show that's about to come out. So on this channel, Nathan Oakley 1980, on Christmas Day, I'll probably put it out in the evening. So I'll play one of the members-only live stream shows on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, Saturday and Sunday. But on Sunday night, when everyone's, or the majority of people in the Western world are up and enjoying Christmas, I'm going to put out a Christmas special, sort of. In other words, I've edited a video that just nicely brought together all of the themes that we've discussed over this year, with various people calling us shills, the same people being the types that claim suns moving in a circle and ice walls and ether and free energy, all that kind of shit. Along with, more recently, of course, the claims that you can do nothing with an angle, and there was a few other examples that were summarised in the Flat Earth straw man that was a NASA shill taking apart their own bullshit about what Flat Earthers don't, or in this case, do say. So it was an opportunity to say, well, that's not us. We don't make any of those bullshit claims, scoff down at the feast of nonsense, although I didn't use that term. And that video, like I say, will come out over Christmas. So it's called Flat Earth... No. paid NASA shill versus professional flat Earth with natural science, something like that. But basically, NASA shill versus flat Earth is the abbreviated title, and that'll come out on Christmas Day. If you remember, you can see it now. So I have published it to the members if you did want to see it sooner. So that's an advantage. If you've got things to do on Christmas, just become a member. You can watch it straight away. But it's been taken out of chunks of the majority of yesterday's show, the live show that is, because that was a great, like I say, focus on those topics, especially with Anthony recently saying that people like Bob Nodell were J-Trigs and trying to convince us with a distinct lack of evidence to that particular fact to prove it. And here's a person that's saying, I am a NASA shill. Watch me shill for the globe. It's like, wind her up and off I go. Well, not wind her up. Give her the money, give her the memo, and off she goes. She'll parrot it off for you. But, affiliated with and paid by and employed by for a prolonged period of time, NASA. So, like, here you go. There's a shill. If you want to know what a shill is, you're looking at it. That's what it is. But, moreover, that's what we were asking in the chat earlier when it was, do you want one or two? What am I going to get more enthusiastic about? And hopefully the appeal to the audience in this regard is going to be not, oh yeah, we definitely want you covering more of Simon Dan and Fight the Flat Earth and Extremesis and whoever it was, Protothad and Ruhif. Yeah, we're really keen for all of these nobodies to be covered again when you've already annihilated them multiple times to the point where they're too scared to come back. No. If it's them, in my opinion, the too scared to be coming back and actually arguing their points is the only bit that prevails. Protothad's been here, had his ass handed to him. Do you want me to play a clip of him telling us how flat Earth is? With elevation angle, the guy's been annihilated. Don't need to respond to him. He's been here, done that, been given the t-shirt, you've been annihilated. Now he wants us to deal with him from the sidelines. Piss off. Yeah, we'll deal with the big boys. Hopefully we'll get their attention.
Yeah, Protothad's diagram, where he brought in his diagram. Remember that internal angles of a right angle, solving for the right angle diagram he had, where within the diagram he had a 25-degree celestial navigation elevation angle over a horizontal plane, proving that it works perfectly over a horizontal plane. Do you remember his stupid diagram? It was like, I don't know why he put in the 25-degree correct celestial navigation elevation angle into that diagram, because he was trying to do a comparison about distance, how if you do 50 degrees, it doesn't work. But it was complete nonsense, because the 50-degree one he did was just him solving for the internals of a right triangle with the length of sides and all that, and the internal angles. Whereas the first angle was a 25-degree celestial navigation elevation angle, working perfectly over a flat plane, completely proving our point. It was absolutely epic.
So with that said, all I'm getting spammed in masturbators is videos from, Simon Dan and Fight the Flat Earth. Has nobody got any high-profile mainstream meat that we can get our teeth into? I mean, if we have to cover Fight the Flat Earth, I don't mind, I guess. The Hammer's posted it. Is that what we're going to cover today, really?
Well, it's a pretty, it's a long anti-flat Earth video. I mean, I think that the guys did a good job, but to review the whole thing, it's like 2 hours. So,
well, I'll just use it instead as an opportunity to spam a plug. Can you pop yourself on mute, whoever that is, Eli? So this is Refracted Philosophy channel. Yep. So I'm going to share this link instead. Copy. There we go. Into the live stream chat. So what I'd suggest you do, hopefully in the meantime, someone will dig out a video for somebody a bit more juicy to cover. Not that I'm going to in any way suggest that I'm demeaning Refracted Philosophies going over these guys, but I'm not going to say we've earned it, but I think we've earned the right to. In the words I am going to say, we've earned the right to be covering people who are. Go on, Ted. Go on.
Nathan, I put Michio Kaku. Yeah, Michio Kaku has a 2-minute one, slightly more.
Yeah,
time,
let's get him.
On why your head is old. Hang on. Why your head is older than your feet.
Right, Neil. Do you remember yesterday when I was saying You're picking up what's being put down so much that you want to talk through it so no one can hear it. Yep. There we go.
We'll do our best.
Let's get him.
Okay, right, we're going to cover this. So this is Big Think. Very short video. Michio Kaku, why your head is older than your feet. I love it already. Right, let's do this.
Believe it or not, a clock on your head beats at a different rate than a clock on your foot. We can now measure...
Really? That sounds like an issue with somebody building clocks. Like they're not running the same. They're just like a technical device, like a piece of technology. So you're saying that if you've got two different clocks, they won't run exactly the same? No, he's not, is he? Because he's specifically saying, by inference, that the one higher up will run at a different rate that he'll qualify in a moment versus the one lower down, i.e. head and feet being the example. No, this is definitely going to be a reification of a time dimension by way of Einsteinian bending pseudo-Riemannian. Wish I could say that with a cold. Let's try.
Time-travelling squirrel again, isn't it?
Say again?
Maybe that time-travelling squirrel.
You've got it.
The floating squirrel. Woo.
Yeah, we're going to get some time-travelling squirrels, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a listen.
Measure this, and it has practical importance as well. First,
you can measure this. Sorry, we can measure time. Like it's something physical, like a dimension in a pseudo-Riemannian, got it, four-space time dimension. No, definitely not. No, time's conceptual. When you're going to describe it in this manner, you're going to reify it, aren't you, Michio Kaku? We're way ahead of you.
First of all, Einstein said that time is a river.
Really? No, time's not a river. Let's just correct Michio Kaku. We're off to a bad start, ladies and gentlemen. Time is not a river. Freedom is not a water slide. These are concepts. Now, I can say freedom is like a big swamp, but it's meaningless bollocks. And that's what you're about to get from Michio Kaku. Meaningless bollocks that describes a pseudo-dimension in Einstein's geometry. And he's going to reify it by way of describing it as being a river. No, it isn't. No. Time's a concept.
It's a gigantic river.
Sorry, Ari, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, like, sounds like an interesting metaphor. How is freedom like a swamp, Nathan? Just kidding. Let's continue the video.
All swept up in the river of time.
Swept? Again, another physical reification of a time dimension that's bending because of the uneven distribution of mass when described in this pseudo-Riemannian four-space geometry. Sweeping is something I do with a brush. Definitely not something with a time dimension when describing it as a river. No. You're getting very lost in your own stupid metaphors here, aren't you, Mr. Reify time dimensions?
And it can speed up and it slows down.
No. Time doesn't speed up. Time doesn't slow down. Merely our descriptions of it. Time, that is. And your reification of it when you take technology and describe the technology for describing time, the concept, as being somehow relatable to a river flowing in different rates. No, this is a technical issue with your clock, and you've decided that the one that's at your feet's going to go slower because of a bending fourth dimensional time dimension. No, definitely not.
For example, on the moon. Did you know?
On the moon? What a stupid notion. On a light in the sky? Nobody's ever going to be standing on a light in the sky. This is already a flawed example. The claim that they have that you're going to be buying into with your nonsense heliocentrism belief has come to you via a sky vacuum, my friend. You know, second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum, which the gas we all breathe would want to fill. If you could go and stand on the moon, definitely not going to be the case. So this example's already bunk within 3 words of it.
You know that time beats faster on the moon than it does on the Earth?
Time beats faster, no. Even if you could put a clock on a reified rock, aka light in the sky that you definitely can't travel to through a sky vacuum, your reification of this time by way of a clock and river by way of Einsteinian fourth dimension reification isn't going to fly with us here on Flat Earth Debate.
And we can measure this?
No, you can't.
On Jupiter, time beats...
On Jupiter, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't Jupiter in the heliocentric model claimed to be a gas giant? Not expanding into a sky vacuum, like a whole load of storms just whipping around in a sky vacuum. So you're going to be on Jupiter. No, you're not. Go on, whoever that was. No? Does someone want to add something?
Slower on Jupiter than it does on the Earth.
You can't go to Jupiter. You can't travel to a light in the sky. That would involve a second law of thermodynamics violation journey.
So time beats at different rates.
No, it doesn't. Time's a concept. The way you track it might move at different rates. You might have watches that run at different speeds. Go on. Go on, Ted.
So he's assuming everything. Yeah, he's assuming that someone on Jupiter had a chronometer and this was tested.
Even if they had a chronometer, a really, really accurate watch, what difference does it make? It's describing the concept that we have given to what we call time. It's not in any way a physical dimension or something that's trackable in terms of a difference in the technology between two watches or chronometers.
Nobody's supporting
right. But my point is...
Go on, Tenth.
Yeah, go on, Adam, because my point was going to get to... Okay, well, my point is that because they have to go with general relativity and the bending of space-time, they have to say all these things to build up to that. So I'll let Adam refine it, I think.
I'm just adding, that they're trying to add supporting evidence they don't actually have. So the only way they can do is to describe it within the heliocentric model, which you as a normie you accept because you recognize parts of that. You recognize that Jupiter's bigger. You recognize, therefore, with what he's describing. So subconsciously, unless you're challenging it like us, you'll accept that as an evidence because there's statements of truth within the model, even though we know the model's mugging us off and he's using the bits you'll nod along with within the model to support his supposition that the clock is going to work differently at different distances or with different masses and different heights, as he appears to be claiming here. But it's a kind of, it gets you to nod along by making those statements. First thing, if we go to the moon, there's a statement of fact as the way he's presenting it, as if that statement that time's gonna travel differently on the moon. That's a statement of fact. He's not questioning it. It's not a supposition. It's a statement of fact that's supporting what he's telling you.
But you can't step on the moon. It's like Neil deGrasse Tyson's equivalent was to say, if you're a cloud whipping along at 1,000 miles an hour in line with the rate of the rim velocity of the equator, then if you travel north as a cloud, you're like, what the hell are you babbling? I called him a hippie when he did this. Well, with Michio Kaku, it's no different. If you imagine you're on a light in the sky, so just to bring you back down to reality, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. If I wonder I'm stood on you, then time travel's different. Does that snap you out of the nonsense he's just spun to you? Because he can't give you an example of time travel or time dilation or time travelling at different rates, the things he's describing. So where does he put you? He puts you on the moon. You ladies and gentlemen of the audience, you on the moon often? No? Of course, my bad. It's Jupiter that you frequent. No, not often frequenting. You just prefer to whip around as a cloud. This is the bullshit you have to swallow as a heliocentrist. You're either a cloud or you're on a light in the sky. You might just accept it because of the rhetoric being bullshitted into you to the point of acceptance without you realising it. But once we start pointing out that, no, twinkle, twinkle, little star, now I'm standing on you with time moving at a different rate. Stark contrast. Hopefully that wakes a few people up.
When an object moves very fast...
Go on, whoever that was. Please share the show, by the way, if you're watching live.
Time slows down inside that rocket that is moving very fast.
No, it doesn't. Time is a description we've ascribed to how things take place in our known existence. Yeah? We can give it a rate qualification in maths, but it doesn't change in terms of its physics because there aren't any physics for conventions and descriptions. They're just descriptions. Now, when they only exist in mathematical terms, you have to take it on a rocket, or on the moon, or on Jupiter, for his example to make sense. No, rockets aren't time machines. But that, in a sense, is what he's telling you here.
If that rocket is then placed on the moon, time beats faster. So we have two...
No. So it's not only took it from the moon to a rocket back onto the moon. No, rockets aren't time machines. The moon's not a time machine. You're not going to change the speed of time, Mr. Kaku. No.
Competing effects. This has a direct implication with regards to your cell phone.
No, it doesn't. Has no implication. Again, it's just a piece of technology.
Your cell phone has GPS, which allows you to locate objects on the planet.
On the flat plane. The global positioning system works with Cartesian coordinates. It's working with length and breadth of the world that we experience and elevation. It's not working on a three-dimensional spherical coordinate system. GPS proves Earth's flat.
Planet Earth by focusing...
No, not planet Earth. No, GPS would be proving Earth's flat, like most things. They necessitate working in the way the world works, so they work with a flat plane. GPS doesn't prove satellites and global just because it's in the title. Sticking global, it's not global, it's ground positioning, and that's flat. So no way you're getting planet from this.
Focusing in on satellites or...
Satellites orbiting? No, definitely not. If they're orbiting, we'd have to have a curved surface. We'd have to have a curved surface falling away from us at 8 inches per mile squared with a physical geometric limitation to our view at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. We've debunked all of that. You can't have things falling around in a circle around a sphere if the ground's not a curve. Because it can't be a curve, non-spherical orbital motion. Further to that, your maths for the presupposition of an orbital motion comes with an assumption of a spherical R value. All of your maths and presuppositions need that R value to assert. We've debunked it. You haven't got a geometric horizon in the pre-show discussing how non-physical it is when Craig, the Fight the Flat Earth guy we don't want to be covering, tells us how refracted it is. Right, well, non-geometric horizons aren't going to give you R values to insert into your presupposition orbital value for this satellite, Mr. Michio Kaku.
Orbiting the planet Earth. Satellites travel at 18,000 miles per hour.
Do they? No. That would require them to be in an orbital motion. The lights in the sky that you sometimes ascribe to being satellites aren't tin cans moving at 18,000 miles an hour in a sky vacuum. There isn't a sky vacuum and they're not falling around a curved surface. We've debunked every single thing that you've just presupposed.
Or if they're in low Earth orbit.
There is no low Earth orbit. No such animal exists. You can't move around a flat surface and then claim that you're falling around a spherical one. You can't map the terrain with ground positioning systems that work with a coordinate system that must be flat and then assert that things are moving around a curved spherical surface when they fall around a flat mapped terrain. No, you can't make any of these assertions.
Therefore, time slows down.
No, it doesn't.
For those low-lying satellites.
No, it doesn't. There are no satellites in orbit. Time doesn't slow down. You're not going to manipulate time. Time is merely a concept.
But if satellites go farther and farther away, gravity gets less and less.
Gravity gets less? What, like in a quantitative measure? It's not even a force. How are you going to describe it as being less if it's not a quantitative force? No, he's bullshitting. This guy's a liar. This is an advanced bullshitter because he should know better. He should know gravity's not a force.
Less and less. So
how can it be less and less if it's not a force?
Time speeds up.
No, time isn't something that you're going to reify from being a concept into something that you can change and manipulate and speed up. Show me time. Now show me going faster.
So in outer space, we have two competing effects.
Outer space is fake. Outer space is a 10 to the minus 17 torr sky vacuum. If the sky was a vacuum, outer space, then the gas we're breathing at high pressure would fill that area of volume. We'd all be dead. Dunno.
Fast satellites slow down in time.
Fast satellites in orbit? What, around a flat surface? No, that's not possible. Definitely not.
Very far away satellites slow.
What, in the orbit that we've debunked? No, it's all bullshit.
Speed up in time.
No, they don't. You can't speed up or slow down a concept. It's your description of how things progress in our known existence. It's not something you can manipulate. You're working outside of the convention when you describe a manipulation or it moving in terms of its speed. You can't show it me. You can't throw it faster.
And in fact, at one radius, you can calculate...
Radius? One radius of the presupposition that it's just falling around something that's mapped flat? Definitely not.
Time beats exactly at the same rate as it does on the planet Earth.
Yeah. Notice you mentioned the radius value. We've debunked that. You need Earth as a sphere with a curved surface and measuring physical geometry. You haven't got it. That radius is debunked.
So what does it mean? Your
It means the Earth's flat and you're a bullshitter.
GPS system would totally fail.
If the Earth was curved, yeah, because it wouldn't plot out on the Cartesian grid system.
Without Einstein's theory of...
No, without a flat plane. Einstein didn't have a theory. Theories come after scientific validation. He had mathematics for a pseudo-four space dimension that turned time into a fourth dimension. That's not a theory.
Special and general relativity.
Nothing special about it. It's just bullshit made up dimensions that we don't experience. Time's not a dimension. It's not a fabric. You can't bend it. You can't make it go faster. It's just a description. It's just a convention that you're working outside of to turn it into a dimension that we don't experience.
This also means that the top of your head, because it is farther from the center of the Earth, beats...
Centre of Earth? What makes you think we've got a centre of Earth? You'd need to assert the radius value to determine that we've got a centre of Earth as a sphere, as you're presupposing it. No, you haven't. That radius value came from a measurement of the geometry, claimed to be the physical edge of your sphere for boats to fall over. You claim boats fall over a physical geometric sphere edge called Earth curve, and that derives your R value that you're inserting to presuppose Earth is a sphere with orbital values that we've debunked. We've debunked your geometric edge. You don't have Earth curve to get an R value. You don't have geometry to measure. You know, ask anybody who's defending this shit. The people who are young and fruitful. Like, fight the flat Earth. He'll tell you it's refracted, mate. Changes with the bloody weather. The Earth curve, that is. You can't really call it Earth curve anymore. It's supposed to be blocking boats and buildings and stuff, but it moves with the weather, apparently. So you can't get geometry from it. You can't derive R values from it. You can't presuppose orbital values with it. So no.
At a faster rate, time beats at a faster rate than your feet.
No, it doesn't. We've debunked every aspect of this stupid nonsense, Michio Kaku.
So you can actually show that even within your own body now.
How did you show it? Did you show my feet moving at a faster rate through a medium specific to a reification of a dimension that's come from a description of a convention we call time? Did you show me my feet dying off quicker? No, you didn't. Total nonsense.
Our instruments are so accurate that you could show...
Instruments? So back to the actual claim proof, see, which is the technology he's actually basing this on. Clocks. Clocks aren't time.
In your own body, the fact that time beats at different rates.
No, that's a clock. Clock's a way of you actualizing the description of the convention of time. And that doesn't mean that time, if you move the hands forward 10 minutes, that you've made time move forward 10 minutes. It's just stupid. No, that was it. Hey, Chocolate.
Well, I got another short one from Neil deGrasse Tyson, and it's right at the beginning of a 4-minute one.
Okay.
It's in Master D. You're gonna love this one. Very good, by the way.
Talk amongst yourselves as an ad.
That summarised was, I'm going to make a statement. Time moves different at your head and your feet. Waffle with just as much spurious nonsense for 2 minutes, and then go at the end. I hope you can now see, well, time moves different between your head and your feet. Job done.
Yeah, it didn't show that.
Doing that one again.
Yeah.
Who was it this time?
Your favourite, Michio Kaku.
Oh, homie. he hit you with some seat of the pants, some leaps of logic.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of the scientific method, is he?
Time travels differently on the moon to prove that my feet are traveling at a different time than my head. He supported that by stating that the moon's got a different rate of time as well. And in case I was in any doubt, he clarified it by stating that Jupiter would also have a different one.
Oh, it gets better. It gets better. If you want to verify it, Chocolate, just jump on a time machine and just travel to the moon. They call that time machine a rocket. Proof. Done. Jobs are good.
Is this why I'm late for work every day? Because my alarm clock's upstairs.
Yeah.
So if I
Totally.
just and gone downstairs, I'm later.
You know, with the numbers, there's only 80 people watching. There's normally well over 100 people watching at this point. We're all out Christmas shopping or something. Please share the show. We're ripping a new one of Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michio Kaku. Let's move on. We've got Larry King and presumably Tyson.
Via Twitter wants to know what would happen if the Earth stopped rotating for a second.
Oh, yeah, that would be disastrous.
Oh, I love it.
Disastrous, because right now...
Dun, dun, dun! If my presupposition of Earth that's turning and develops no effect stopped, you damn well know about it then. Be scared. Be afraid. Be very, very, very afraid.
I'm so glad he started with one of my favorite nonsensical statements of the heliocentric model. If the Earth suddenly stopped, disaster everywhere, yes.
However, suddenly if it stopped spinning, it wasn't spinning, you'd feel it. But luckily it keeps spinning so we don't feel it.
You should really thank the god of the sun that we are spinning. You know, you've got a lot to be grateful for. If we stopped, you'd all be dead. Thank the sun we're spinning. Okay?
Now, here in New York, you can calculate at our latitude, we are all moving with the Earth at 800 miles an hour due east, because Earth is rotating. If you stopped Earth and you weren't seat belt buckled to the Earth, you would fall over and roll 800 miles an hour due east.
So be grateful that we're spinning.
I thought everything's lockstep. So why don't we? Why? Because we're going with them. We jump in the air. We stay with it. Why wouldn't we just stop with it? And I'm only talking in their claim, but what makes him say that? Why suddenly do we have reference frames again?
I don't know.
Because that's the implication, isn't it? Suddenly, we're the spinning reference frame. You have stopped, but we carry on spinning. Apparently,
it would kill everyone on Earth. People.
Yeah, you hear that? You'd all be dead. Yeah, a couple of days ago when we covered the death and sex cell. Yeah, this is that. Just in case you hadn't spotted it. Quick shout out to Chris Berry, who says, "What would happen if Earth started spinning? Dun, 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 we'd all be dead. There would be 1,000 miles an hour in velocity at the, area of equal elevation known as the equatorial plane." Yeah. Nah. Thank you for the super chat, Chris Berry. Really appreciate the support.
Will be flying out of windows, and that would just be a bad day on Earth. I'm just saying. now, if somehow we all slowed down, so anything not bolted to the Earth would.
Right. So everything not bolted to the Earth, like an aeroplane?
You see, but in their paradigm, it is bolted to the Earth. The aeroplane is. That's why it's going sideways at 800 miles an hour whilst traveling north. It is bolted to the Earth. This is my question. Why would everybody die? Why would suddenly all the magic within the heliocentric model that stops reference frames suddenly start allowing reference frames?
Right. I think it's just a beautiful Jedi mind trick. This is one of the best. These aren't the droids you're looking for.
I'm taking it too seriously, aren't I, Chocolate?
Would slide due east 800 miles.
It's a good question, but sorry, Nathan.
That's all good.
An hour. That's what happens to you in a car if you hit a brick wall and you're not wearing a seatbelt. You keep going. That's why you get hurt in those kinds of accidents.
Yeah, so full-on death cell. That's what it's doing. Scaring the shit out of you to make you believe it's bullshit or buy his product. This is a really common sales scam technique. Shout out to...
What would happen? What would happen to the aircrafts that are not attached to the Earth? Everyone on Earth all of a sudden would be shot forward at 800 miles per hour or wherever their relative speed is. What would happen to anything not attached? All the things that are supposedly following this ball around as it rotates and it revolves around the sun. What the hell?
That's what I'm saying. Is the plane then traveling north, but suddenly, because the Earth stopped, it's also going 800 miles an hour sideways? Is that the force they'd suddenly feel that 800 miles an hour?
Oh, now I see what you
sideways?
mean. You're saying, so for the flight that's taken off from Charlotte to LA, right? In their rebuttal for non-Coriolis, the plane's moving 800 miles an hour backwards, right? Now you're saying when the Earth stops, does that plane that was moving lockstep 800 mile an hour backwards suddenly move at its actual rate, and the Earth starts, or was moving 800 miles an hour lockstep, now stopping, so you've picked up a catapult speed of 800 miles an hour because it stopped below you?
Yeah, exactly.
Do we suddenly
Like,
have
what?
reference frames again? Is that
Yeah.
I'm asking?
So one reference frame, well, that's not very scary if we would have consequences on a turning Earth, so that's preferable. Yeah, one reference frame. What about your Coriolis? Well, that would be proving spin if we had Earth turning underneath, so 2 reference frames. Okay. What about if we stop turning? 2 reference frames would kill you. That would mean we'd have spin be preferable, so 2 reference frames. Death imminent. Yeah, whatever they're like, basically.
No,
That is the consequence, but it's no longer the Earth. You get me? Whereas before, we had no Coriolis because we had lockstepness with a rotating Earth. We've now got a non-rotating Earth and rotating everything else, and suddenly the rules apply. It's just total contradiction. I'm not spotted it before,
All that matters, though, for the audience's benefit, as much as we're joking about this, I'll bring it back on track. In every example that claims to prove a turning Earth, you'll start with the assumption that you've got a turning Earth and start discussing the consequences either of the turning Earth or the lack of consequences of a turning Earth, or in this case, the consequences of a turning Earth not turning. In other words, every single scenario will be revolving around, excuse the pun, the after effects once you've assumed that we're turning. So all discussion and all debate will take place about the example that assumes we're turning. So it's like, well, will we attack A, the stupid assertion in the first instance that Earth's a turning reference frame, or B, the consequences of the assumed turning reference frames that we're all going to nod along with, but debate about what might happen to planes or people if they got thrown off it when it stopped. Like, so long as we're begging the question from the globe point of view that we're turning, it don't matter what Tyson says from here forward. He could say we'd throw off, he'd say we wouldn't notice any difference. It wouldn't matter what he said. So long as we are basing the argument on the idea that we're spinning in the first place, anything goes.
The gravity in their world should be their magic seatbelt. It should be their, proper braking system for everything, because it's the same thing that keeps everything in lockstep.
I've got to stop you. I hate to interrupt you. Gravity's not a force, but you can think of it as a seatbelt.
but this is the point I just want to make in terms of
Before you do, Adam, I just want to shout out this super chat because it's been on screen for ages. Hold on one sec. Shout out to Sensual Goat. He says it's a very cold, wet, and windy day for Christmas. Shopping in England today. Luckily, I have my Globe Earth jumper and tinfoil hat to keep me warm. Yeah, that is the reality of it, Sensual Goat, isn't it? They paint us as being tinfoil hat wearing nutters. But yet you've got Tyson getting you to imagine you're a cloud. You've got Michio Kaku imagining you're on a light in the sky and travelling in a time machine rocket. Yet we're called tinfoil hat nutters. It's just projection, isn't it? Adam.
To top that off, tinfoil hats actually work.
Adam, go ahead.
It's just to finish that point, because you're talking about not dealing with the low-hanging fruit, like the fact that and dealing with these guys. We just go to them with our standard rhetoric, just the standard Coriolis thing. They're going to dismiss it out of hand from a flat earther. I think if you present the argument within their paradigm, like what we did with the moon, there's more chance of getting a reply. You don't want it from like flat earth debate crew, but if it's just from an individual where you're actually questioning that contradiction within their own paradigm, that might be a route of, you know, like Neil emails and stuff like that. Just keeping the question within their rhetoric so that there's no question. So you just look like a normie that's intrigued.
Right, Alwyn, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say tinfoil hats actually work, but it has to be tin foil, not aluminum foil, which is the standard that everybody uses now in kitchen appliances and all that. But tinfoil actually does work.
When you say
it's
actually
still
work,
silly, but
what do you mean? Works to do what? Make you look daft, or
bake cookies?
yeah, it'll definitely make you look daft, but it also basically provides a slight Faraday cage for the mind.
Obviously, NASA thought that tinfoil was okay to use as like the sides of the spaceship.
Oh, that's
I'm
outrageous.
sorry.
That was gold.
That aluminum foil?
That was gold. I just want to say on that note, like, Arwin's opinions do not necessarily reflect the opinions of everyone else on Flat Earth Debate, but with that, I'll say if you're watching on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Programming streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you. Smash the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Fully fitted with air conditioning and heat, you know, to keep you nice and toasty, whatever necessary levels you need to be in the harshest environment known to man. Yeah.
But magicians' hats or top hats or even astronaut helmets can be lined with tinfoil. So you don't have to show it to everybody that you're using it.
Why?
Chocolate. It only,
you just don't understand, Adam.
Chocolate only works.
Go ahead, Tom.
NASA claimed that it only works in the vacuum well, not in the atmosphere.
Oh,
Hey,
man.
can I say something right quick?
You can.
So the video we just reviewed, Michio Kaku or whatever the hell, what is the title? Because I want to go under that video and drop a comment and say, hey, Nathan Oakley has debunked this video. And if we have a link, we could post a link as well, I believe. Or if everyone here could go to that video and put, hey, Nathan Oakley has debunked this. I mean, I'm always dropping those comments on every video I see like that.
Okay. I've put
that
it
was
in.
kind of my point.
I put it in the live stream, and I put it in. I don't know how to use Discord. I give up. Yeah.
Maybe somebody else.
Discord is very hard.
Someone will post it
Just
for you.
post
It's
it
in
in
live stream.
Skype, and somebody else posts it there.
Yeah, and it's in Skype. I've just put it there.
But just to inform all our viewers here, I mean, we can always do that. Drop a comment saying Nathan Oakley has debunked this.
Yeah, Nathan Oakley 1980 has debunked this.
That would be my point. I don't think you'll get a response to that. However, like I say, if you stick within their paradigm and keep your comments, actually, there's a question. Could you please explain this? Like we've done with NDT there. Why suddenly are we reference frames? You know what I mean? And show that paradox there. You've got more of a chance of actually not filed under B.
I'm
when
just
I
trying
first saw
to.
that,
Hold on, Chocolate. Go on 10th. The show's going to round out in about
When I
5 minutes, by the way.
when I first saw that video, and the Chocolate's gonna love this. There's Larry King, there's Neil deGrasse, and he gets all expressionful. His hands, we're moving at this latitude, 800 miles an hour, and then it shows the back window pane with calm day, clouds, everything. It's like, what are you talking about, you madman?
Perfect. Right, I'm going to go and see Santa at the Play Village. So another massive, huge thank you to all of you who've tuned in for this very brief after show. And of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panel for making today's pre-show, live show and after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.